And we're here now with an old friend, industry veteran, hacker in chief, Tim Panton, who is no stranger to things like hackathons. He's been doing this for years. And we're going to talk a little bit about the role of the mentors or tormentors in hackathons. It's particularly important that when young guys and girls come in, they get a lot of assistance. And Tim is one of the team of people who are here to assist in that area.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to help people see what maybe they could do and kind of try and guide them away from huge pitfalls that will waste their afternoon, that kind of stuff. But also to try and help them focus on the user. I think there's a big risk in these kinds of things that you get obsessed with the technicalities of a problem without thinking about what the end user is going to get from it. And so my sort of recurring theme is to say to people, well, what's the benefit for the user?
That's great. And you're wearing a Google shirt at the moment and sitting on the Google table. Can you say a few words about how Google are plugged into TADHack?
So as far as I understand it, Google are a sponsor, and of course the TADHack theme here is WebRTC. So, and Google have been a leading player, if not the instigator of WebRTC. So they're a huge enthusiasts for that, and they want to see WebRTC spread into as many places as possible and used in as many ways as possible. Some of them fun, some of them commercial, and ideally a bit of both.
Yeah, that's great. And even though TADHack is sponsored by certain organizations, I think we're seeing people using a variety of different APIs, and many of them not from the sponsors.
What I'm enjoying is the fact that the APIs are actually standard. A lot of these APIs are standard, and then upon them are built other fun things. So, although Google may have started this ball rolling with WebRTC, if you see it implemented in, I've heard estimates of 2 billion endpoints are already capable of running WebRTC software. So that's actually, that includes things like Mozilla, the Firefox phone, the Ubuntu phone. There are many other players who are entering this market, but adopting the same standards. And there's rumor that Microsoft may be coming down the line as well. So those sorts of standards that you can build upon that may have been kind of promulgated by Google and others are actually spreading out further out into the standards domain, which allows people to go off and build on them with some confidence that they'll find them out in the wild.
That's great. And you used the word market a number of times there. Can I be bold and ask you about what your view on the commercial, I know you're not Dean Bubbly, but what's your view on the commercial value of this marketplace?
Oh, I think it's vast. I think there's a lot of opportunities here for, in the extreme end, you look at something like WhatsApp and the other messaging companies, they're valued at, tens of billions. Facebook paid, I think, $18 billion for WhatsApp. So that end of the market, the mass communication market, is still wide open for those sorts of businesses. But I think more interesting for this community is to look at narrow apps that solve a particular user problem. So, I don't know, I want to get car insurance or something. I go to a website, and maybe that website doesn't quite resolve the question I've got. So I then upgrade that communication as part of the website to a WebRTC call to a sales agent or an assist, and then pull that experience together in one place. And I think there's a lot of potential money in that.
Yeah, I think certainly there's a lot of money in niche markets. Going back to TAD Summit, we experienced outfits like Senid Mobile from Sri Lanka, who have set up a complete developer ecosystem now, and they specialize in doing niche applications, but just lots of them, and they cover the entire breadth of the application world. And so whilst they may not make a huge amount of money on every single app, because they got huge breadth, they are actually making quite a lot of money in total.
Yeah, I think there's a thing here which is to do with the fact that we're basing on a model which is 100 years old of the phone call, and now we're starting to see it being specialized into particular niches which work better for one or other particular user. And so you're seeing, instead of having a generic one size fits all, it's a phone call, that's it, we're starting to see those things being blended into the rest of the user journey in terms of, starting out maybe with a website or a mobile app, and then progressing up, still probably within that app, into a more real-time communication. And then at the end, probably paying with a credit card back on the website again or back in the app. So you get that user journey, but contained in the same user experience and managed by the same kind of design team, perhaps. Whereas in the old days, you'd step out to the phone and then you'd be out of context.
Yeah, indeed. You came up with another interesting word there, experience. And people like you and I, Tim, we're older than many of the other people here. One of the things that I think we've been very lucky to do is fail quite a lot. Would you like to say a few words about the value of failure in this context?
Oh yeah, no, it's huge. Trouble is that people don't always understand. It takes a while to understand why you failed, and people don't always receive the message when you tell them, well, this doesn't work. Some people have to make their own mistakes, and that's fine. I mean, I did an app a few years ago which I got the data back from, and when you looked at the data, you could see that it simply wasn't going to work. It didn't matter how clever I was about optimizing the experience, actually people didn't want to use it. Technically it worked, but there was no user demand for it. And until you learn that lesson, well, it's a painful lesson to learn, but it's a good one.
Yeah, and obviously environments like this, the hackathon, the friendly hackathon environment is a brilliant environment for trying out new stuff and potentially failing. Some of these hacks downstairs are going to fail, but many of them actually are going to succeed in a pretty interesting way.
That's definitely true. I love using hackathons as a way of experimenting with something that I've been tempted to do but never really had been able to justify the time. And I encourage everybody to do that, to have something they wanted to kind of play with, experiment with, try out to see whether it's something that's usable in the end. And they spend a day building it, and then at the end they come out with something they get to play with and expose to a few users and get feedback from, from the mentors, from the judges, but also from the rest of the audience, who are all, experienced in their own ways and their own make their own contributions to that. So it's good fun, but it's also a really good way of trying out a new concept and seeing what happens.
And if it fails, it doesn't matter. So finally, let's think of a few words to say to people who are not at the hackathon that could join us for TADHack Global in June.
So I think that communication has been very static. Real-time communication has been very static for, well, as I said, maybe 100 years if you look at it in a very in that sense. And I think that we're now just entering a place where many more people can start to do real-time communications and build them into their apps, their web apps, their mobile apps. And I think we're going to be seeing a time pretty soon where if you haven't got that in your app, then you're going to be seen as being behind the times, and people will move to a service that does allow them to make make direct real-time communication with a salesperson or something as part of that app.
Brilliant. That'll have them packing the aisles for TADHack Global. But
well, one hopes so.
One would hope so. Anyway, Tim, thank you very much for your words of wisdom.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.